Stu Johnson, Mary Meehan, and other members of the WEKU staff to share full-length interviews and features. And you'll hear reports from Kentucky Public Radio, the Ohio Valley Resource, the Kentucky Center for Investigative Reporting, and our other content partners who we'll recognize in full later in the program. That variety begins with this edition. And we didn't have to go too far for our first guest. I talked with Dan Pride at the recent Alltech One Ideas Conference at the Lexington Center in downtown Lexington. Dan Pride is Chief Operating Officer at Godolphin USA, a property of Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum and one of the largest breeding and racing operations in the world. Dan oversees a unique thoroughbred industry leadership and management program that offers hands-on learning in racing and breeding. Thanks for joining us, Dan.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So tell us about the Godolphin Flying Start program. Who created the program and what's its mission?
Well, the Flying Start program started in the early 2000s, and it's the brainchild of Sheikh Mohammed. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed was, the story goes, I was not present, that he was talking to some of his advisors, and the topic came up about future leaders in the thoroughbred industry globally. And where do they come from? There was no real central path that helped identify and develop future leaders. So Sheikh Mohammed said, I'm going to start one. So 2003, the first group started, and we are 15 years later into a very successful program.
And how many trainees, I guess, or students per session?
Trainees is the right phrase we use. Actually, there's 12 per group that go on a 2-year program. So we have 24 students, 12 first years, 12 second years at any one time.
And where are these offices located? There are several, correct?
That's correct. You know, the program is really based in Ireland, and Sheikh Mohammed was definitely the visionary for the program. But there's 2 people since the beginning that have been instrumental in making sure this comes off every year. And Clodagh Kavanagh is the director. She's based at our operation in Ireland, County Kildare, called Kildangan. And Joe Osborne, who's also based at Kildangan, has been a tremendous support and really a guiding force through this program for 15 years.
Okay, and we'll get into what the program does in just a minute. But first, what's the typical candidate? Who gravitates
Well, that's the
to
beauty of this. The beauty of it is there's really not a typical candidate in terms of you got to have a certain kind of cookie-cutter profile. Part of the deal Sheikh Mohammed wanted was this to be a non-need-based program. So it's a full scholarship for the 2 years. So they can come from any background. We've had folks that grew up in the most established thoroughbred families all the way to those that literally were introduced to horses after they graduated from college and did not have any direct contact. But the common thread would be they all have a passion for the industry and they want to grow individually to be leaders in the future.
And have you been seeing people from all over the world?
We have. We've had 20 countries represented on this program over the 15 years. They've come from all walks of life and, again, all parts of the globe.
The training takes place in Kentucky?
For 6 months, they're in Kentucky. But basically, Sheikh Mohammed wanted to mirror the 2 years and take the global reach of Godolphin and have the students, trainees, really follow the path through that global outreach. So Ireland is the home base for the program, and that's where they start there for 2 years. And then they go to our operation in England, Dalham Hall. Then they come after Christmas. They start in August of that first year. After Christmas of the first year, the holiday season, they'll come to John Bell in America for 6 months. Then they'll leave us and go to Australia, where we have an operation in Australia. Then after the holidays of their second year, they will go to Dubai, spend 3 to 4 months in Dubai, and then they wind up in England before they graduate 2 years later after they've started.
And does what they learn vary by location? For example, I think it's hands-on here, but maybe something different in Ireland.
They have a little different elements where they are, but there's some consistent themes to this. They want to have an educational component. So now there's an association with University College Dublin, which, there's an accredited program. So there's an academic component here. They actually take a nutrition class at the University of Kentucky from Dr. Laurie Lawrence, who's been a great supporter of the program. They do an accounting class. They do other business-related classes around the globe. So they do have an educational element wherever they are. The other thing they try to do is get a workplace experience, kind of an internship, where they'll go to the different countries, and we've luckily developed great relationships with farms, trainers, bloodstock agents, racetracks, and all these different locations. And so the trainees will get practical experience in addition to kind of the formal training.
And tell us a little bit about the hands-on training. What goes on?
Well, they'll do everything from break yearlings to get them started. Under tack, they will foal mares. They will work in the stallion barn. Basically, they want to get experience in all aspects of the business, both with the horse and the management side. So there's really no job that they won't be exposed to try to help them move forward with their education.
And a second ago, you mentioned nutrition at UK. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more? How does equine nutrition play a role in the training?
It's obviously a big foundation to raising horses, raising thoroughbreds. And again, we have a great relationship with UK and Dr. Laurie Lawrence. And this is one of her programs that she teaches over there at UK. And they are students right next to kids from Lexington, Louisville, wherever they may be. And they're enrolled in the class like they would be a local student.
What sorts of challenges does the program prepare Godolphin trainees to encounter and manage?
It's very unique in that, this program is kind of like a combination of that old MTV show, The Real World, or Big Brother, where you bring in 12 people, most of whom don't know each other. And they're going to spend the next 2 years with each other. They live together, they work together, they travel together. And so you get that dynamic of working within a team. You obviously get formal training in different aspects of running the business. And the other thing it's probably as important as anything is the networking aspect, is they get an opportunity to be exposed professionally to people in all parts of the industry. And it gives them a chance, if they didn't know what they wanted to do when they come on the program, and some do, some don't, it really gives them a chance to get insight on what aspect of the business they can really see themselves going forward in the future.
Is there tuition involved?
No, it's a non-need base. So Sheikh Mohammed sponsors the whole program for 2 years.
So you pick out people who are qualified and you think will make it through, or the program does, and it's full load?
Full load. So
Wow.
It includes travel, it includes housing, it includes every aspect. I mean, it's really remarkable what he's committed to do. And the other thing, this goes back to Joe and Clodagh and the job they've done. We're now in our 15th group, has just been selected, that'll start in August. There have only been 2 people who haven't finished the program that started, and it's not easy. I mean, it is a challenging experience, but the support's there. I think, again, that team aspect helps get these students through, the trainees. So it's pretty remarkable what they do.
So having gone through all that training, what do graduates of this program know that they didn't know before they began?
Well, I think it's insight into different aspects of the business. It's exposure to people. It's exposure to cultures. One of the things I talk to the students about is you'll go to some places and see operations that you can learn how not to do things. You'll be exposed to things that don't really fit your style, and you can learn from that. So everything doesn't have to line up exactly the way you want it to. You can equally learn on how things are done that may not suit you, that you can take away from.
And have Godolphin graduates gone on to leadership roles in the thoroughbred industry?
They have. And I've used this line. It's not unique to me, but I truly believe, 20 years from now, this will be one of Sheikh Mohammed's greatest legacies to the global thoroughbred industry, is the leadership roles that these trainees are now graduating to. They're in their 30s now. The earliest grads are in their 30s, approaching 40, and they're starting to get in positions of real leadership, and they're all around the world. We have them here locally in the U.S. They're running farms. They're trainers. They are working for sales companies. They're working for racing organizations. You name it. We're up to almost over 150 grads now. So you compound that over these years, and geographically you spread them out. It is amazing how well they've done. And over 90% of them are still in the thoroughbred business. That's the other thing. The 2 aspects is you have the retention of those that finish the program, and also the retention within the industry is truly remarkable.
Can you identify a couple of ways maybe that Godolphin graduates are leading change and driving development in the industry?
Well, it's hard to pick out a couple just because you're going to leave somebody out, but I'll do my best. Some interesting things. There's a new organization called China Horse Club that is developing new owners in that part of the world. We've got a graduate named Eden Harrington who's very involved in China Horse Club. We've got a graduate named Henry Field who is developing and running a full-service stallion operation and boarding farm in Australia, standing some of the leading stallions. Selfishly and close to home, we've got a couple graduates, Jerry Duffy and Darren Fox, who are both in senior leadership positions with Godolphin here in the USA. Neither one of them they're both Irish and got on the program. And we're fortunate they both relocated here in senior positions working with Godolphin, working with me directly.
This seems like mighty interesting work. What do you enjoy most about it?
Watching the students develop. The trainees, they come in and all these various backgrounds, and I see them, a lot of them have never been to the United States. And so while they're working with us here, just to see their eyes open to how things are done here. And that's the thing about the horse business is there's not really just a right way to do things. You get to see a lot of different approaches and to hear from them how certain things are done from the parts of the world they come from compared to how things are done here. I enjoy that. And also just the camaraderie of watching them work together and grow together.
Dan Pride is Chief Operating Officer at Godolphin USA. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
You'll find a link to the Godolphin Flying Start program on our site, esweku.com. You can click on the Facts and Information tab, and it'll be right there.